The forgotten wars that changed the world, and battles lost to time, but their shadows still shape our present. Did you know some of the most world-changing wars were never taught in your history class? From a 335-year war with no deaths to a conflict over a stolen ear, these obscure battles secretly shaped the world you live in today. The War of Jenkins' Ear, 1739 to 1748. It all started with an ear in a jar. British Captain Robert Jenkins presented his severed ear to Parliament, claiming Spanish coast guards had cut it off. Outraged, Britain declared war on Spain. What followed wasn't just about one man's ear. It triggered a global chain reaction, spreading into the War of Austrian Succession. It involved battles in the Caribbean, North America, and the Pacific, redefining colonial power balances. The war revealed how minor provocations could spiral into world-altering conflicts. Ironically, Jenkins himself disappeared into obscurity after sparking a geopolitical wildfire. The 335-year War, 1651 to 1986. The world's longest war had 0 casualties. When the Dutch Republic sided against the English monarchy during the English Civil War, the Isles of Scilly were declared enemy territory, but a formal declaration of peace? Forgotten for over 3 centuries. It wasn't until 1986 that a historian noticed the oversight and a Dutch ambassador visited the islands to finally sign peace. While no shots were fired, this war is a haunting reminder of how easily bureaucracy can distort history. The Football War, 1969. This wasn't about football. It was a boiling pot of land disputes, immigration issues, and national pride. But when Honduras and El Salvador faced off in a World Cup qualifier, tensions exploded. After El Salvador won, riots erupted, and within days, both nations were at war. Though it lasted only 100 hours, it left thousands dead and hundreds of thousands displaced. The Football War shows how sports can become a spark for long-standing political fury when nations are already sitting on a powder keg. The Emu War, 1932. Australia declared war on emus. After World War I, Australian veterans turned farmers faced an unexpected invasion, 20,000 emus ravaging crops. Armed with machine guns, the government tried to wipe them out, but the emus were faster, smarter, and surprisingly elusive. In the end, the emus won. It sounds absurd, but the Emu War highlighted the country's fragile agricultural policies and the unintended consequences of human intervention in nature. It also sparked debates about military overreach and civilian affairs. The Anglo-Zanzibar War, 1896. The shortest war in history lasted just 38 minutes. When Sultan Khalid seized power in Zanzibar without British approval, the Royal Navy bombarded his palace until he surrendered. Despite the brief duration, the war demonstrated the brutal efficiency of imperial might. It also underscored the fragility of sovereignty under colonial influence. This was less a war and more a message to the world. The British Empire would not tolerate defiance, not even for an hour. The War of the Oaken Bucket, 1325. 2 Italian city-states, Modena and Bologna, went to war over a wooden bucket. Modena's soldiers stole it from a Bolognese well. Outraged, Bologna sent 30,000 men to retrieve it. Modena won. Though the war sounds petty, it masked deep-rooted rivalries over territory and influence. The bucket still sits in Modena today as a trophy of pride. What looks trivial in hindsight was, at the time, a matter of honor and power. The Pig War, 1859. One pig almost triggered war between the United States and Britain. On the San Juan Islands, an American farmer shot a British-owned pig rooting through his garden. That small incident escalated into a full-on standoff with thousands of troops deployed. The two empires were prepared for battle until a joint commission finally diffused the situation. The Pig War reminds us how even the smallest events can ignite global tensions when pride and politics collide. The Arrow-Anglo War, 1901 to 1902. In Nigeria, the Arrow Confederacy resisted British colonial control. The British, eager to dominate trade routes and suppress indigenous religion, launched a full-scale attack. The Arrow-Anglo War led to the fall of the powerful Arrow people and the forced integration of southeastern Nigeria into the British Empire. This forgotten war was pivotal in shaping the modern political landscape of West Africa, yet it's rarely mentioned in global history books. The War of the Golden Stool in 1900. In the Ashanti Empire, the Golden Stool symbolized the soul of the nation. When the British governor demanded to sit on it, war broke out. The Ashanti people, led by Ya Asantewa, a warrior queen, fiercely resisted. Though eventually defeated, their cultural identity survived, and the Golden Stool was never surrendered. This war wasn't just about land, it was a battle over spiritual sovereignty and the right to define one's own legacy. The British may have won the territory, but the Ashanti kept their soul intact. The Toledo War, 1835 to 1836. A war between Ohio and Michigan? Yes, this was a boundary dispute over a strip of land called the Toledo Strip. Both territories sent militias, built forts, and even arrested each other's officials. Luckily, it ended without bloodshed. But what followed shaped American politics. Michigan was consoled with the Upper Peninsula, which later revealed rich mineral deposits. So while they lost the Strip, they gained long-term wealth. The Toledo War shows how even small-scale conflicts can have unexpectedly massive consequences. The First Italo-Ethiopian War, 1895 to 1896. Ethiopia did the unthinkable. It defeated a European empire. When Italy tried to colonize Ethiopia, Emperor Menelik II rallied a massive force and crushed them at the Battle of Adwa. It shocked the West and inspired anti-colonial movements across Africa and beyond. Ethiopia's victory wasn't just military, it was symbolic resistance against imperialism. For decades, the battle echoed as proof that Europe wasn't invincible. And yet, this monumental victory is barely whispered in Western history classes. The War of the Stray Dog, 1925. It started when a Greek soldier's dog ran across the Bulgarian border. Chasing it, the soldier was shot by Bulgarian guards. Greece retaliated, invading the nearby town of Petric. Bulgaria appealed to the League of Nations, which ordered Greece to withdraw and pay damages. The War of the Stray Dog may sound absurd, but it tested international diplomacy in the early 20th century and proved that global conflict resolution mechanisms could work sometimes. The Coconut War, 1980. This modern conflict happened on Espiritu Santo, an island in Vanuatu. When the country gained independence, a French-speaking separatist named Jimmy Stevens declared his own republic. His troops? Mostly armed with coconuts and machetes. The war ended when Papua New Guinea forces intervened. It was brief and bizarre, but the Coconut War revealed how colonial legacies could fracture even new nations before they truly began. The Pastry War, 1838 to 1839. Yes, pastry sparked a war. A French baker in Mexico City claimed Mexican officers looted his shop. France demanded compensation. When ignored, they blockaded ports and bombarded the city. Mexico resisted fiercely, and the U.S. nearly intervened. Though brief, the Pastry War showed how petty grievances can be used as pretext for imperial aggression. It wasn't about desserts, it was about dominance in Latin America. The Cod Wars, 1958 to 1976. No blood was spilled, but fishing boats were rammed, cut, and nearly sunk. Iceland and the UK clashed over fishing rights in the North Atlantic. With livelihoods at stake, Iceland extended its territorial waters. Britain sent warships. The Cold War backdrop added tension, but in the end, Iceland won through strategic alliances and stubborn diplomacy. This battle over fish reshaped international maritime law and showed that even the sea isn't neutral. The First Kashmir War, 1947 to 1948, overshadowed by larger global events, the First Indo-Pak War defined the Kashmir conflict. After partition, tribal militias invaded Kashmir, prompting India to intervene militarily. The fighting ended in a UN-mediated ceasefire, but the wounds still bleed. The war set the stage for decades of geopolitical tension, nuclear standoffs, and territorial stasis. It wasn't just a regional clash, it was the start of one of the world's most dangerous disputes. The Chaco War, 1932 to 1935. Bolivia and Paraguay fought over the Gran Chaco, a vast, hot, and mostly empty region rumored to have oil. The war was brutal. Heat stroke, dehydration, and poor logistics killed more soldiers than bullets. It became one of South America's deadliest wars, yet is often overlooked globally. Paraguay emerged victorious, but both nations suffered deeply. The Chaco War teaches us how economic desperation can drive nations into needless violence. The Italo-Turkish War, 1911 to 1912. Before World War I, Italy tested its imperial ambitions by attacking Ottoman Libya. It was the first war to use aircraft for bombing, setting a grim precedent. The Ottomans lost, and Italy gained Libya, but the tactics and weapons trialed here would soon be scaled up across Europe. This war quietly served as the dress rehearsal for World War I, changing the nature of modern warfare forever. The Biafran War, 1967 to 1970. The Nigerian Civil War, often forgotten globally, was a genocidal conflict that killed over 1 million people, mostly through starvation. The eastern region, Biafra, tried to secede. The world watched and mostly did nothing as children starved and villages were wiped out. Propaganda, media manipulation, and foreign interests prolonged the suffering. This war remains a haunting reminder of how ethnic tensions and political silence can combine into catastrophe. The Battle of Blair Mountain, 1921. Not a foreign war, but a labor war in the U.S. 10,000 coal miners in West Virginia took up arms against coal companies and local law enforcement. It became the largest armed uprising since the Civil War. Though the miners lost, it reshaped labor rights, union activism, and federal power. It's a war that corporations tried to erase from memory, yet its echoes remain in every modern worker's rights. History isn't always told through the loudest battles. Sometimes, it's these quiet, bizarre, or overlooked wars that leave the deepest scars and longest shadows. They shaped borders, sparked revolutions, and whispered truths about humanity's endless struggle for power, pride, and purpose. If this journey through forgotten wars sparked your curiosity, there's a whole universe of strange, powerful stories waiting for you. Stick around, we're just getting started.